So that is the lesson 2. And now, let's move on to the lesson 3. It is the collecting, marketing, tagging, and preserving evidence. So, preserving evidence, or the collecting and tagging and marketing, it is the process of investigation. The responding team should be knowledgeable on the proper action to be done and the specific kinds of evidence found in the scene of the crime. That is why officers must be expert. That's why investigator is studied many years just to acquire this kind of knowledge, this kind of skills to solve crimes. First, we have the collecting physical evidence. All items that were found in crime scene should be collected. Everything that is found near in the crime scene must be collected, documented, or something. If it is very presentable to the court, so it will be part na they will gather that evidence and put it in something much safer that will be presented to the court. First, we have the blood. It is an important evidence because it is part of the biological. It can trace person. That is included in physical evidence. It is important because in homicide, assault, robberies, or other cases where it may be spilled or the blood may spill, it is categorized into major groups of type A, B, and O, depending on the condition of the stain on the receipt. Collection of liquid blood. A. Use clean, disposable plate or eyedropper for each sample. B. Place the sample in a container, avoiding air space because air will cause the blood to dry. If the amount of blood is minimal, collection may be best be made by placing the sample in a normal saline solution. First tablespoon or 1 tablespoon salt in a 1 quart of distilled water, and D is refrigerate sample in saline solution soon as possible. So E. Do not mix areas where samples are collected. Above all, avoid contaminating samples by reusing collection tools. So that's why you have many tools. That why investigator must have many tools, and it is preserving the blood. So the evidence that is gathered will not be put to dissolve. Collection of dried blood. A. An absorbent surface. Bring an entire object or cut out the stained an area and bring it to the laboratory. B. A non-observant surface. Scrape up the sample and place in a container, or if possible, submit the entire article. C. If sample is scrapped from surface, also scrape a portion of the surface where no blood is present and submit it in a separate container for the control in case some substance on the surface causes difficulty in test. That is the difference in collection of liquid blood and the dried blood. So everything is can be used though. Collection of wet blood on clothing. Do not fold the cloth as it may destroy the stain pattern. Do not package while the stain is still wet. Allow the clothing to dry in a room before packaging. T. Do not expose to sunlight or highlight temperature as they may destroy the factors which will be determined blood test or typing. Collection of hair. Hair may be found anywhere in the crime scene. It is often found on the cloth of the victim and suspect who have come into physical contact with each other. So the collection of hair here, we have A. Head. Take samples of head hair from the top and each side of the person. B. Take by combining, pulling, or cutting close to it. C. Take at least a dozen of hair from each location. In rape cases, take 2 samples from both the victims and the suspect. The first is taken by combining and the second is by cutting them and pulling. D. Each of these samples should be collected in separate containers and properly labeled. E. Identify hair carefully as the exact location found. F. Do not mix hair found in several locations. G. Place the hair in folded paper and put it in an envelope in glass vial and seal. Do not tape the hair to an object as it is alter the hair and destroys any debris adhering to it. Number 3. Fingernails scraping. It is case where physical contact has been made. Fingernail scraping should be obtained. Rape cases or assault cases are good examples of case where fingernail scraping may be important. Collection of fingernails. A is clean each fingernail which clean fragment file. B. Place the scraping from each finger on already labeled paper with notations of which finger it came from. C. Place the scrapings from each finger in a separate envelope or glass vial, and fingernail scraping should be obtained from both the victim and the suspect. E. If the subject hand it contained with blood, note this is on the container. So you must put it in the container if it is have a blood. For fiber, it is the excellent as tracing evidence when clothing cross-contamination takes place. This is also important evidence in robbery and hit and run cases. Fiber may be found on clothing, snagged on projections, and even embedded with vehicle paint. Collection of fiber. A. We have the treat and package fibers in the same manner as hair. B. Extremely careful not to cross-contaminate during the collection process. C. Collect the clothing which is considered to be source of the fibers. D. Do not shake the items as it is dislodge the fibers. 5 is glass. It can be an important evidence. Robbers and the run cases, it may be found as the trace evidence in clothing and shoes. Collection of glass. A. Collect from each broken glass at the crime scene. B. Package them individually in glass or envelope. C. In hit and run cases, collect all broken glass. Ensure the possibility of physical match should fragments be found suspect's vehicle. Number 6 is firearms. Firearms, bullet, shotgun, shell, shotgun, pellet, and wad, explosive residue, and gunpowder pattern can be provide vital evidence and specific answer to possible questions in the case. Collection of firearms. A. Firearms must be handled carefully, not on the safety measure, but to avoid disturbing any evidence may be provided. B. They must be properly marked or later identification. C. Never insert anything in a barrel as it is may damage the identifying characteristic and dislodge material which may be inside in the barrel. Pick up the weapon by the trigger guard or checked grip so as not to disturb any fingerprints. That's why you need to pick up the barrel just like this. E. Unload but not to wipe any clean or not to clean the weapon. When unloading, carefully record the location of fired or unfired, misfired cartridge. G. Record the serial numbers description of the firearm. Firearm with no serial number should be marked with initials on the receiver or the undersides of the barrel. Never use X or other non-individual type of marking. G. Do not mark the weapon on any easily removable parts such as the stock or the grip. Last one is use discretion so as not to disfigure the weapon. Don't in the collection of firearms evidence. A. Never submit a unloaded gun to the laboratory unless it is delivered in person. Unfired cartridges may be left in the magazine of a weapon provided the magazine is removed from the gun. D. Never clean the bore, chamber, or cylinder before submitting a firearm, and never attempt to fire the gun before it is examined in the laboratory. Never pick up a weapon by placing a pencil or other object in the end of the barrel. D. Record in serial number, make, model, and caliber of the weapon and mark it in some inconspicuous manner that does not detract from its value before sending it to the laboratory. E. Place weapons in strong cardboard or wooden box will be packed to prevent shifting or guns in transit. F. Rifles or shotguns should not be taken apart. Dili dapat itapat. G. If blood or any other material which may pertains to an investigation is present on the gun, place a clean paper around the gun and seal it with the tape to prevent movement of the gun and loss of the samples during the shipments. Last one is never contaminate the gun for the examinations of latent fingerprints. So we understand the don't when we give the gun to the laboratory. That is the secret of the PNP and how they preserve crimes or how they preserve the evidence. The evidence. Number 7 is bullet. It can be provided information about the mark or make and type of ammunition and weapon from which the bullet was fired and whether or not it was fired from the specific weapon, provided the weapon is available for the test purposes. Collection of bullet. We have A. Handle the bullet so as not be dislodge any extraneous material or damage the market or the markings. B. If a bullet is lodged in wood or similar material, cut out the lesson and bring it to the laboratory. C. At autopsy, request the use of hands or rubber trip forceps to minimize the possibility of damage of the bullet or the bullet. D. Wrap each bullet separately in tissue in cotton to prevent damage and place it in the container. Number 8 is cartridge case. This can also be provide vital information as to the type of weapon used, the type of ammunition, and whether or not the case was fired in a specific weapon, if weapon is available for the fire testing. The collection of cartridge case. Handle cartridge case so as not be added any scratches or marks. B. Wrap each one separate to prevent damage. C. Be sure to note specific location in which each was found. The 9 or the last one is the seminal stain. It is often but not always found on clothing, blanket, sheets. It is also biological evidence like blood. It must be collected properly to maintain its integrity. The collection of the seminal stain. Allow any stains to air dry, wrap in a proper and package. Evidence in a paper bag. Do not use plastic bags. D. For sex offense cases, the victim should always be examined by physicians. A sexual assault evidence collect corrections kit is used if player evidence from the victim. C. Label all garments such as undershorts, panties, or other exhibits and package each in the garment separately. D. If the damp allow fabric to dry completely before packaging, hand fabrics as little possible. B. Marketing of physician's evidence. As evidence is collected, it is individually marked with the initials of the investigator. The marking tool depends upon the nature of the evidence. General rules in marketing tools or object as physical evidence. Mark with an initial of recovering officer. Never use X. Record any serial numbers if applicable and other distinctive mark. Mark the object without damage. Always mark the container in which the object is placed even if the object itself is already marked. When tags are used, make corresponding entry in the tag and attach it securely to the object. Marking of firearms and related evidence. Revolvers. It must be marked separately on the barrel, frame, bull, cylinder, and took. Pistol. It must be marked on the barrel, frame, butt, magazine, and stock. Rides. It should be marked on the barrel, frame, magazine, bolt, or slide. All magazine and accessories shall be also marked. Fired empty shells and misfired cartridges. It must be marked with the mouth of fired empty shells nor on the butt's peripheral surface or base. Fifth, bullets, slugs, balls, pellets. A bullet or slug can be marked on the give or nose as well as in the base, not on the body or bearing surface. C, or we are now going to the tagging evidence. All evidence which be their nature could not be marked on each surface, such as blood, hairs, fibers, and like are properly stored in appropriate container. Preserving physical evidence. So when preserving physical evidence, material should be preserved along the way, or the preservation is in order to reach the court in the same physical condition as when they were collected from the crime scene. Preservation of tool marks. Whenever possible, submit the whole object containing tool marks to the laboratory instead of just removing area containing the mark. Cast of tool marks can be made by person who has had considerable experience in this work. Pack the object containing tool marks so that no alterations or damage will be occurring to the shipment. Preservations of controlled substance and medical preparations. Each sample of material recovered should be placed in a proper container which can be sealed and marked. Preservation of questioned documents. Under no circumstances should either the questioned document or the examples be marked defaced, or altered. Whenever possible, all documents should be protected by placing them in cellophane or plastic envelope. Shipments of evidence. Questioned documents may be submitted personally or left in previous described lockers at the laboratory entrance. Such evidence sent to the laboratory by mail must be sent by certified or registered mail. D. Shared documents, where examinations and decipherment of shared paper is card paper involved, great care must be taken to prevent any additional scrambling or breaking apart of the burned material. Other question document evidence in addition to handling or handwriting and typing writing comparisons and the decipherment of card documents. Other related examination can be considered in laboratories such as or conducted in laboratory but are not limited to. First is restoration or decipherment of altered, obliterate, or erased writing. Second is comparison of check protectors and rubber stamps with question printing. Identification of embossed or indented writing or typing. Comparison of paper and commercially print materials such as checks, coupons, receipts, and others. Physical matching of cut or thumb paper to various types. Problems relating to inks. Preservations of latent fingerprints. The primary precautions in all cases is prevent of adding fine fingerprints to evidence or the destroying those already present. Most fingerprint must submit will be on the paper, glass, metal, or the other smooth surface object. Touch as little as possible and only in the areas least likely to contain identifiable latent such as root surface. The latent prints in glass material articles and firearms should be placed on wood or heavy cardboard and fastened down with string to prevent shifting and contact with other objects in the transit. Papers and documents containing latent prints should be placed individually in cellophane or manila envelope. 3 types of fingerprints that can be found in crime scene. First, we have the latent fingerprints are made of sweat, soil, and skin surface. This type of fingerprint is invisible to naked eye and requires additional processing in order to be seen. Patent fingerprints can be made by blood, grease, ink, or dirt. This type of fingerprint is easily visible to the human eye. 3. Plastic fingerprints are 3-dimensional impressions and can be made by pressing your fingers in fresh paint, wax, soap, or tar.